Hey everyone, this is Grant Evans with Coldwell Banker here in Utah. You might hear that my voice is a little raspy today. My brother had a few basketball games. He's the coach. I just got a little too excited today. Today we are meeting with Luis Moran from Coldwell Banker San Francisco. Go ahead and
Yeah.
introduce yourself, Luis.
Hey, Grant. Yeah, I'm Luis Moran with the Coldwell Banker office here in San Francisco. I'm a native of the city, born and raised here, so I'll be glad to answer any questions you may have.
Absolutely. We'll go ahead and start with the first one. Why should someone move to the Bay Area versus a place like Sacramento or even Southern California?
Oh boy, I think we could spend the whole video just talking about that one question. There's so many reasons. I think first of all, the first one that pops in my mind is location. I mean, honestly, you can drive northeast for 3 hours and be in Tahoe. You can drive north for an hour and a half, be in Bodega Bay. Drive south, be in Monterey. Drive east and be in national parks. I mean, there's anything you want to find, you will find within the 2 or 3 hour radius. In the city itself, you have so many options for different activities. There's theater, there's museums, there's hikes, there's running events, there's restaurants, and then you have all the tourist sites which attract people in the first place. And even though I live here and was born and raised here, I still spend time playing tourist once in a while, and I'm still amazed at how beautiful the city is.
That's great. One of my favorite things about San Francisco is the San Francisco 49ers. I'm a big 49ers fan. You know, I have some cousins that still live in San Francisco and Bay Area,
Yeah.
and I'm so jealous because they have season tickets to the Niners games, and I live in envy.
Well, right now I live like 2 blocks from the ballpark, and right
Oh
now it's
man,
Giants versus Dodgers. So
yeah, I
you
bet
can
that's
imagine
busy.
we're pretty excited.
Yeah, that's so much fun. The next question we have is, what's the current real estate market like?
You know, it was nonstop, just heading higher and higher up until the pandemic. Once the shelter in place, the COVID issue hit, we noticed that single family homes continue to rise and the demand is definitely outweighing the inventory. People want their own space, they want a little yard, they want the Zoom room and so forth. We did notice a pullback in condominiums because people didn't want to live in shared environments and so forth. And a lot of the people who were living in condos were younger people working in the tech industry. We noticed they moved either back home, back to their places to work remotely. We have seen, however, lately that the market is improving back for condos, where it might have pulled back about 25%. I think now we're almost at pre-shelter in place prices for the condos.
What would you say is the average monthly payment someone can expect to pay there?
It really depends on, in San Francisco, you have a pretty strong buyer pool. So they put a substantial money percentage down, you know, anywhere from 30, 40%. But let's say if you have a 20% down payment and you're buying something around the $1 million range, you're probably paying somewhere in the $3,500 or so a month. And then obviously you got to include insurance and the property taxes and so forth.
Okay, so 3,500 is just the principal and interest, pretty much.
Yeah,
Okay.
if you got it, let's say, I'm trying to think, so that would be for a loan of about 800,000 or so.
Okay, sounds good. And then what kind of jobs are people usually transferring to because of San Francisco?
I would say that when I was younger, San Francisco was really a finance-based city. You know, the finance was a big deal here downtown. Over the past 20, 30 years, it's really gone the majority tech. Almost everything the people who are buying in the city have some relationship to some kind of tech industry position or job. You still have a lot of people in finance and lawyers, legal law is still a big profession. But as far as blue collar or non-higher end paying jobs, people are just not buying in San Francisco. It's just got too expensive. But you've seen the communities around San Francisco are picking up because of that.
Okay, sounds good. A big concern I say this in a few videos is that Utah is conservatively red, California is historically blue. What advice would you have to those people that take politics as an important aspect in their life when moving to San Francisco?
Sure, I would suggest that they experience San Francisco themselves versus what the media might portray or so forth. What you have to remember is that the majority of people living in San Francisco are transplants from other places in the country. So we have quite a varied political spectrum here in the city. And even the people who are more on the liberal side, they tend to follow the live and let live policy. when they say inclusive or diverse, it means conservatives. It means anybody who might have a different point of view from them. Whereas in other parts of the country, you see a little bit more maybe anger when there's back and forth. And here it's more of like, hey, let's discuss this. I want to learn. I want to understand. I've never had anybody live in a city who's told me, even though the policies are different, that they felt uncomfortable in any way.
Okay, awesome. That's interesting that people can just talk it out rather than kind of argue about it. They try to see things from both sides. I think that's great.
One thing to remember is that we have UC Berkeley literally 30 minutes away. We have UCSF here in the city. We have Stanford 30 plus minutes away. That whole academia, research, understanding, there is that mentality of I want to learn, I want to understand.
That's fantastic. Another question we have is, what is the process of buying a home in San Francisco? Is it different than any other counties in California?
I would assume that it's pretty much similar to most any other place in the country, where the one thing that's really important here is that you really need to have your finances in order before you start looking. If you're buying cash, well, then it's easier. But if you're financing, you want the pre-approval letter. You want to know exactly what your limits as far as budget are and what you can afford to spend, because properties move very quickly. I mean, we're now at the process where they may show it for one weekend and then take offers the following week. Condos takes a little bit longer. You may be able to negotiate. Also, one thing in San Francisco, I don't know about other markets, is we've been in the trend for quite a while now of underpricing to sort of get a momentum. So when you see a listing price, don't take it too seriously. See what the surrounding similar properties are sold for, and that'll give you more of a true price. It's just a mentality. Everybody's going to bid over, so the underprice, so that it comes to the price that the sellers were actually looking for.
Okay, so the buyers will underprice the value of the home.
The sellers will, yeah.
The sellers will. Okay, so they can get multiple offers and things like that.
Exactly.
Gotcha.
It's just it's a momentum-driven market, and there's something psychological about you show up at a home and you think it's a good deal, and then you see people around you that are really excited about it, and all of a sudden they become competitive, and you want to buy this house, and next thing you know, you've pushed your limit. So part of my job as a realtor is to pull people back sometimes and be like, wait, let's look at this. I think you might be overpaying at this price point. You might be able to buy something a little better if you just slow down a little bit.
Okay, going into that, why would someone want to use you as an agent versus anyone else in San Francisco?
Well, San Francisco has a large pool of very qualified realtors. One of the benefits, several of the benefits I believe I would provide is the fact that I'm a native of the city, born and raised. I have relationships with any possible industry you would be involved with or need, plus relationships with other realtors. I've been in the business for 11 years now with the same office, Coldwell Banker, and also have a legal background, which has helped me with contracts and negotiating and so forth. I mean, very honestly, almost any realtor, most people are going to find the homes on their own, online or so forth. I think what you want is an advocate for your rights. You want somebody who's going to negotiate for you, and somebody who is going to also, like I said, put some brakes on you when you get a little too excited.
Yeah. So a lot of people will probably ask you this, thinking of moving to San Francisco. Do you help people buy, and do you help people rent?
I help people buy. I'm not in the rental market, but I have some colleagues. So whenever somebody needs some rental guidance, I'll pass them on to colleagues. But most honestly, almost every realtor is going to look into Craigslist, apartments.com. It's the standard market search. There are some listings which will show up on the MLS, but those are more rare. I usually like Craigslist, and like I said, apartments.com are the places most people are going to go and look for rentals.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much, Luis, for being with us. If anybody is interested in contacting Luis, I'll leave his contact information in the description. If you're thinking of selling your home in Utah and moving out to San Francisco, give me a call, send me an email. I'll put the information down below. Thanks so much, Luis, for visiting with me. Is there anything else?
My pleasure. Thank you for inviting me, and I hope to see you in San Francisco soon, and go 49ers.
Yeah, thank you.
All right, see ya.
Yeah.